Welcome to Wittenberg Academy's Latin Readings course. This is Latin Readings 1, so we will be beginning at the beginning of Julius Caesar, Gaius Julius Caesar's De Bello Gallico, concerning the Gallic War. Before we delve into that, this video is to introduce basically how the class works, how we want to go about the process of translation. So this is really an introduction to the course. Now, if you are joining us directly from Wittenberg Academy's Latin 1, 2, 3, and 4 courses, if you learned our grammar, your grammar with us, then you already have a copy of first year Latin. If you are coming to us straight into the reading course, maybe you learned on Wheelock or Hindley, that's fine. You may want to pick up a copy of this simply because since this is the book that we use, I may refer back to, we learned this bit of grammar in this chapter and so forth. And it's a nice, inexpensive little grammar, easier to review from, I think, than a grammar like Hindley or Wheelock, because the chapters in this are so short. Whereas Wheelock has only 40 chapters, this has 120. So the chapters are much more focused in this, and it's very easy to refer to. The other book that you will want to pick up that you're going to need some kind of Latin dictionary. Now, Lewis and Short is the classic, very complete Latin dictionary. That's available for free online. I'll post links to that in the course syllabus. You can also download a version of Lewis and Short for free, and you don't have to be connected to the internet to use that. That's called Glossa. But of course, you also will have to have your computer handy. There's nothing better than having a real live paper dictionary. This Chambers-Murray Latin-English dictionary, again, it's inexpensive. It's stout. It's 25,000 entries. It's going to be more than enough to get you through this course and all your basic readings courses. It's a very good, inexpensive, easy to handle dictionary. Do I have the other one near me? Well, the Lewis and Short's across the office, but it's about this size. It's massive. This is the Oxford Classical Dictionary. So it's not something you want to carry around. So Chambers-Murray, something very good to have. Then the two books you need for this actual course, one is this interlinear edition of De Bello Gallico with notes and translation. So every tool you could need to translate this is in this book. But this is a reference book. You're not going to translate from this book, because then you wouldn't really be translating. So this is your reference book. So when you translate, you'll have this, face down over there. The book you'll be actually translating from is this, the study book for De Bello Gallico. And the foreword includes how you prepare each week. How do you prepare this text? And so, if you haven't read through the foreword, the introduction to this book, you should pause this video and do so now. Read through it. And then once you've done that, you will have some idea of what I'm going to talk about next, because now I'll talk about how this works. So when you sit down to translate each week, this is what you should look at. And nothing else to begin with. And so as you begin looking at this, and you say, Gallia es omnes divisa in partes tres, quarum unum incolent Belgae alium Aquitani tertium, qui ipsorum lingua Celtae nostra Galli appellantur. Okay, there's the first sentence. And now I have to begin dividing it into clauses. Okay, Gallia es omnes divisa in tres partes. So I'll just take it up to the first comma, and I say in partes tres. Well, that probably means in 3 parts. Est, I see a verb. I know that means is. Gallia looks like it's nominative. Gall is. Omnis divisa. Well, if I didn't know what divisa meant, then I would pick up this book, and I would look, and I would see, oh, divisa means divided. Okay, so since I didn't know that, I would write that down in my own interlinear. So now I'm making notes. These are the notes that I need to translate this. You're not going to need every note in this book to make a translation of the text. So, everything in here, this is reference. This is to help you, so that you don't have to spend all your time looking up every word in here. If you find a translation of a word in here that you don't understand or you want to know more about, then you go to the dictionary. If you find something in the notes down here about the grammar, about the grammar, and you don't understand that, and it says something about an ablative absolute, and you can't remember how that works, then you go back to your grammar and read up about ablative absolute. Okay, so as you prepare each week, you are going to spend, at the beginning, I'm not going to assign a certain number of lines. I'm assigning you a certain amount of time to work. So you need to work your 45 minutes 3 times a week and see how far you can get doing this. And again, as I say to the introduction in the study book, you're not going to write out your translation. You're just going to make the notes you need to make your translation verbally. And then at the back of this book, beginning on page 98, there's a clean text. And then this is what we'll try to read it off of in class. And then if you get stuck, you'll refer back to your notes. So when we read together online, you won't open this book at all, unless I say, hey, let's look at his explanation of this on page such and such. Okay, so again, you begin here. If you get stuck, you don't know what a word means, you go here. Or if you don't know how a piece of grammar fits together, you go here. And then anything you had to look up here, you make notes of back here. So eventually, I brought a couple of mine. So this is from when I was in school. These are my notes on the Aeneid, Virgil's Aeneid. So you can see, I have a lot of notes there. And sometimes there are underlinings, and it's not just vocabulary words, but I have notes there on how the grammar goes together. And these are from grad school. So you never really, so there's a particularly tricky part of the Aeneid. You can see all the lines and squiggles and vocab words I didn't know. And then this will be how you can come back and study this text, years later. Or study for the test. Because the test, once you get to this part in Latin, the test is simply going to be a paragraph that looks like this. I'll have a couple words underlined, and then I'll say, translate this paragraph. And then I'll say, explain the use of the underlined word. That sounds scary now. We'll have some practice before we actually take one of those tests. But this is how you begin to learn how to read Latin. This is how you use the various resources so that eventually, you won't, eventually the idea is that you'll be able to pick up Latin that looks like this and just read it. But to get there, we start with Latin like this, so we can have space to make our notes. And then we have a reference like this that helps us know the meaning of vocabulary words and how the various sentence structures work together. And then if we need to know more, we have a dictionary, tells us more about the vocabulary words, and then we also have a grammar book that helps us understand more what the reference book is telling us about how the grammatical structure works. So that's what we need for this class. So make sure you have all those books before we begin. And invest the time to do this the right way. Don't worry about how far you're getting at first. If you're doing this right, if you're doing this the right way, so that you're starting here with nothing else open, you're just starting here and you're trying to work this out, and you're just using the reference work not as a crutch. You are using it as a crutch. You're using it as something to help you through so that you don't have to constantly look up vocabulary words. But you don't want to have this, your eyes should not be here all the time. Your eyes are here trying to work it out, and then they just go here when you need help with vocabulary. And then you make your notes. And maybe in this first week, in the first 45 minutes, maybe you're only going to get through, I don't know, a page every 45 minutes. Fine. Do that. And then when we go through the text together, we'll begin to piece it together, and you'll become more facile. Things will become easier for you as you build that. So in the beginning of the course, it'll feel like you're going very slowly. It'll feel very difficult. But by the end of De Bello Gallico Book 1, you'll be able to go back to your notes and think, man, I can't believe I had to make all those notes. I know what that means now. That's easy. So that's how the process works. Review again the foreword. Set aside your 3 times this week to do 45 minutes in each session. And then a 4th session will be, I'll announce a time when I'm going to be able to go through your text. Oh, and I should say, your homework each week actually will be to scan or take a picture of your copy of this book. So when you're done with your 3 45-minute sessions, you need to scan in or take a JPEG picture of what this looks like. I want to see your book. And then we'll go through as many lines as you got through, and maybe even a few more. So that's how this class works. I look forward to it. Should be a lot of fun. I'm excited that we're finally to the point where we are reading some real Latin. All right. See you then.